You're live.
Good morning and welcome to the August 20th, 2025 regular meeting of the Shenango County IDA Board of Directors. We'll go ahead and roll call ourselves in.
Corey here. Crawford here.
Bull's here.
And Luke Kalia is joining us online.
Correct.
It is the mission of the Shenango County Industrial Development Agency to advance the health, prosperity, and welfare of the country's citizens by helping to retain, create, attract businesses through appropriate investments and incentives. And that will be changing very shortly. Need a motion. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at the minutes. Need a motion to approve the minutes of July 16th regular meeting.
So moved by Corey.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, or omissions? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Corey, aye.
Zeno, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Bull's eye.
Bird and I.
We'll change that mission statement now, Brian, now that all these minutes have been approved, everybody agrees that this was what was said, so.
Great.
Now we'll change that for the next.
So I know during the pandemic, online voting was allowed.
It's not.
It's not anymore.
We have a quorum here, so.
Okay, just wondering. I
We
didn't
have
want to
5 out of
include-
7, we need 4. Yeah, and Lou still wanted, I still wanted Lou to be here, obviously.
Yeah, okay, yep, I just didn't know if that was still.
He has to
going on.
abstain, he has to
Okay.
abstain.
Financial report?
Okay, thank you. Looking at page 8, statement of financial position. I took a look at this compared to this last one. There's not a lot of activity on this particular page. Our cash is down a little bit by 11,000. It's just normal business activities, paying bills. Our intra-fi there is up 3,000 through investments and things. So net, our current assets are down about $8,000 from last month. Going through, there's no change in property, equipment, total assets. Again, overall it's down by 8. We're going to be going over the accounts payable in just a minute there. Overall fund balance is, holding tight there at the 2988302. See that there. It's a pretty quiet month, to be honest with you. We'll get into a little bit in the next pages here, but pretty quiet on that page. Okay, yeah. As we look into the age receivables on page 9, just so you guys know, the first 2 have already been received. Those are those kind of intercompany ones we do for admin expenses, and those are already received.
Yeah, those better never fall later than 30.
So go,
Hopefully.
yeah. Go on to the next page, age payables. One of the things you'll see here is lawn maintenance, a little bit higher than normal, and that's because we got a call from on the railroad, along the railroad that we own. We needed to have that kind of trimmed up. Some of the grass there, that's been billed to the railroad. They'll be reimbursing us. You'll see that in August. So just so you know there, we also did a little extra cleanup inside where our generator is. There was a lot of weeds growing up. We had to whack that down. So normally it's about $200 a month, but there's a couple extra cleanups we had to do. But we'll be getting over $800 of that dollars back. So
These guys do a good job. And the railroad brings another question because we've been contacted by members of the city council here because there's homeless encampments in certain spots along the railroad. And I think people get confused. We lease the railroad, not the adjacent properties. I don't know where our rights end and begin because we've been gotten calls about making police complaints and cutting back the brush and so on and so forth. And so I said, if it's a public nuisance, if it's a safety thing, if there's something that you have to come to us, if that's the railroad's responsibility, we'll figure it out.
If it's considered trespassing, who is responsible?
I don't know, Mike, that's a great question, and we don't own that property. I don't think of us as owning beyond the railroad beds, that's generally speaking where we own, so.
I don't know, what's that right away like? I mean, you have nothing right away with your house. You only own to the center of the road. What's the right way look like?
Yeah, I think to the railroad.
We're
is
gonna
Yeah,
have to
it's
get
like-
that info from
I'll
our
figure all that out. Yeah, John, can you take that as an action item for me to follow up with Maureen and Nathan Fenno around this question of adjacent property to the railroad.
Yeah, I mean, in most cases, you get obviously, if you got so far off the bed, it then becomes somebody's private property, right?
I'm sure.
So we've had to
100%
remove them,
sure.
we've had to remove them off the tracks up near Cary, but that is our property. And, you know, it's not cheap to clean up associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a question. I mean, specifically behind places like the bowling alley, they've got, elderly homes that they built down there off of Brown Avenue. Yeah, off of that, right, exactly right there. So people are concerned, they see them right in their backyard. I get it. Just call the cops. Well, they're like, okay, well, they did. Well, I've been contacted by aldermen and say, can you cut those back? And I'm like, I'm not sure. You know, I don't think I own it, so I'm not sure I can do that. But we're gonna figure it out. It's just a question.
Yeah.
That's a question.
Okay. Any questions there? Moving on to page 11, our segment of activities. One thing of note here this month is when you go down and you see other income, 2017-55. So we got a check from FEMA on a December 19th, 2019 storm. He sent us a check, and so. Yeah. So, I don't know any more about the storm, I wasn't here, but we must have applied for some sort of.
It must have been some sort of application process. We got the check and then they required us to fill out a quick questionnaire on the website, which we did.
Yeah, it was probably related to like one of the washouts.
Yes,
Down in
yes,
Oxford.
yes.
or
So,
something.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what was related to. Was any other information, just check.
Yeah,
The
obviously
date of the
we-
storm.
Hey, well, you know, they're right on it 7 years later.
It's a reimbursement.
Yeah. Yeah.
7 years later. Reprogram.
Heading on down to expenditures, contracted services has 2 months worth of admin fees in there. Just know that. Up slightly, not a lot, but just a little bit more. I want to let you guys know that. Continuing on to page 12. Again, you'll see some of the maintenance expenses here. We talked about the Norwich maintenance there, the 2444. That includes that 810 for the railroad. The utilities there, the 1323. Just our electric bill is about $1,700 for that particular month. Electric's expensive.
crazy.
Yeah, so that's just one of those things there. And then there's also $900 of relocation fees. So basically downstairs, we had to clean up. There's a lot of stuff but there's some stuff left that when we bought the building, there was stuff there and some of our older stuff. So we went through and had to clean it out, get it ready for things. So that was kind of our last cleanup there. So we had that as well. So net activity of negative 95.52 there for the month. Any questions on anything there?
Any questions, comments, concerns
Yes,
for the finances? Okay, hearing none, need a motion to approve the financial report.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, need a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll vote.
Corey, aye.
Zeno, I.
Crawford, aye.
Bullseye.
Bert and I.
Brian, who was the second on that? Sorry, I missed it. Oh,
Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Great. Bills and invoices, there's a large pile today. Stan, the last one in there, you missed it. But there's a large pile today. Does anybody have any questions? There's some different stuff on there, so if anybody's got any questions, please ask.
The one that I'll bring up is towards the bottom there, second from the last, Preferred Mutual. That's our 5 Walnut Bainbridge location. That's our bot policy. So for that one there, just so everybody knows what that expense is. If there's any questions on, one of the things I'm meeting with the insurance agent, going over our coverages, one thing for IDA is, when the IDA bought this building, we were talking about who owns all of these chairs, tables, desks, and things that are inside of the building that came with it, the cubicles and things. Because they only had $10,000 of contents coverage, where the Commerce Shenango has $100,000. So we're gonna have to flip that. So we're gonna have to try to get some kind of replacement value on what we have here, so we get an idea of how we want to insure for, and then we'll flip those around a little bit.
As the parent organization in the past, when I and MET Insurance said, hey, you guys are responsible for all the furniture, televisions, everything that's in there. Should the contents be destroyed by fire or damage? And right now, it's the other way. And the idea, the DCC said, well, we really don't have a big percentage of that stuff. But now I'm trying to figure out, I think as the landlord, as the owners, that, all this artwork, everything else here would belong to the IDA, right? So the value of the contents, like you would insure it for, it seems like it would belong to the IDA, not the Commerce.
You know, what was left by, Preferred when the building was bought, by IDA, so does that mean in essence those are now IDA assets as compared to Commerce assets? And should we?
We're asking, that
Yeah,
would be
that's-
my
that's-
opinion to you. These assets belong to the IDA, not to Commerce Shenango, but
I would say technically, absolutely.
I would think so too. Okay, so I'll make sure we're on the same page.
My thought.
So he's going
We're
through.
just gonna switch it up,
All
we're gonna
that
get some
stuff.
values.
We're just, that's what we think, right? So he's gonna go through the process, and these Commerce Shenango's insurance will go down, expenses, and IDs will go up slightly. So that's why, again, we have to contemplate rent. There's all kinds of things that we're gonna come to. We're just in the early stages of the budget process. This is just one element of it.
Yeah.
We want you to understand. That's all.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, good. IDA law. It's stuff. There's nothing else on there, really. I don't think
And
that's.
everything else is pretty standard fare here.
Need a motion to approve the bills and invoices?
Move.
First by Stan, need a second?
Second.
Second by Frank. Any discussion? Hearing, a lot of them. I told you. Hearing none, we'll vote. Corey, aye.
Crawford,
What was that?
Burton, aye. Great. Pilot updates.
Okay, first one on there is the Lifelong Agricultural LLC. I had sent that application along with some documents out yesterday. The
Did you all
application.
read this? I looked at it.
The application you can find on page 14. We received this application several months ago, had some gaps in it, so I've spent, the last couple of months filling in the gaps and getting some more information from this individual, our attorney, as I had mentioned before. Had some questions as well, so had to kind of do a deep dive into who they are, what they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. The cost benefit analysis I shared the last meeting, that's on page 29. And then I shared what they call a pitch deck via email yesterday, which is just kind of an overview of the parent organization, which is OG Inc. These individuals have done this in several locations throughout the United States. They are actively looking in New York State. They do have a couple of properties in New York State that they're interested in, but the Purdy Meat Plant in Sherburne is their number one choice. At this point, I believe what this body needs to do is formally accept the application, and then I can take it from there with our attorneys to develop the next steps.
So in summary, I'll tell you guys what we've talked about. They're legitimate. They certainly have financial wherewithal. They say they're going to add 30 jobs to the local economy, and they're going to add $350,000 more in taxes over 10 years, and then ultimately, on an ongoing basis, $70,000 a year. So
I do have a signed application, the original application. I went through with him on the phone to update it, and I just couldn't capture his signature that way. But I do have a signed application, yes.
yes. So we think, again, our advice would be that there's really no reason why we wouldn't accept this. They're a legitimate business, adding 30 jobs to the area, and they're going to significantly increase the tax base. If he doesn't do it here, he
Hey,
definitely. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Tyler, do you have any feedback from the town of Sherburne? Because I think they opted out on retail sales and on-site consumption.
I have not been able to have a conversation with the Sherburne supervisor, and based on the information that I've gathered from this gentleman and the stuff in the application, there will be no on-site retail sales or consumption. They're just cultivating the cannabis and then shipping it out.
And ultimately,
Yeah, I understand that, but there's like an inconsistency, right? On one hand, they've opted out, but now they're gonna be on board with wholesale.
Lou, just so we're clear, right? The town board will still have the opportunity to say yes or no to this business, right? We're only approving the taxation, not the introduction of this business into Sherburne. Whatever the policies they have, Lou, that would stop them from having a retail location, I'm going to assume this company's gonna have to go through the same process like Payne Solar did.
Right, they're gonna have to go through the town of Sherburne board, and they also need to go for a site plan review in front of the planning department, which neither one of those things have been done yet.
That's right. So we're just simply saying, if they make it through those hurdles, because you don't want to go through all those hurdles and then have to start the pilot process. Right now, we're simply saying, we're right now voting on the taxation versus what it would be versus what it could be. And does this pilot make sense financially from the area? Does it fit within our mission statement? Things like that. But should we have a cannabis business in Sherburne, Lou? We're not weighing in on that. Any more than we weighed in on whether Payne Solar should have a solar plant in the middle of their downtown.
No, I understand the distinction, so. Probably sense, if I were in the room and allowed to vote, I would be in the minority, but, on this point, so I'm not gonna belabor it, but I think I raised, concern in a prior meeting, and I'll just leave it at that.
And I totally get it, and I understand that.
Yeah, and don't forget, IDA law requires that we are open and we provide all information from the application, the tax, the projected taxes, to all taxing entities in the location. So that's town, village, school, county, anybody that's associated with that. Again, today, we are just approving the acceptance of the application. We're not approving a pilot. We're not approving anything else moving forward at this point. Just that we have a completed application and they can take the next steps required.
So we're basically just acknowledging this.
But they want to know,
We're not really weighing in yet on the actual.
what they want to know right now, Mike, is would the IDA consider a pilot under these terms? Okay, and they're saying, okay, we're not asking you to approve this cannabis cultivation plan. Okay? We can't make this work financially without a pilot. If you guys aren't going to consider a pilot for whatever reason that might be, the pilot doesn't share enough money with municipalities, we have a moral objection to cannabis, it doesn't fit within the IDA's mission, they're going to say, okay, well, I'm not going to go through the process of going to the town board, of going to and trying to get these things approved, right? So all they're saying is, would this IDA consider a pilot if they go through all those stages of approval? At least one of them will not.
Right, so there's still votes for the pilot. I mean, there's.
Oh, yeah, we have to
I'm
go
just
through
trying
our
to
whole,
write it on
yeah,
the
we gotta go
line.
through our whole
You're
process.
You're just
Yeah.
considering.
We're,
It
all
is a
today is
legitimate
we're deciding if we want to move forward with the pathway of generating or approving a pilot. That's all we're looking to do.
Right.
Yes. So
We
instead
may
of
never
just
get to
accept-
vote on it.
Right.
It may die
Correct.
somewhere in the approval process and never make it back to us.
I think what Lou is alluding to is it's fraught. Do we want to get entangled in something that, I mean, it's a drug that's still considered a Schedule I drug on a national level.
Right.
There's banking implications because you can't go state to state when it's, in some areas it's legal, some, but do we really feel that that's in the best interest of the county? And you're gonna take 30 employees that may be suitable for our defense industries or our manufacturers. I mean, we do have a limited, I mean, I know you can create the jobs, but you gotta fill it with applicants, so.
Any job's gonna do that, but like if we bring.
Right, well, this is a different, right, but this is a different bird.
But we're weighing, I get it, so we're not weighing in on job creation, because that's a good thing. If we're weighing in on should we be involved in the marijuana industry, that's a conversation, I get that.
Right.
We're not, right? We're not being involved.
Okay, so we're not at that
We're
point.
not, we're not even involved in that. We wouldn't, the idea is approving the taxation. It's the municipalities that get that approval. If this somehow is viewed as a gateway for them to be able to be approved, because they can apply to the county for a pilot, they can apply to the IDA for a pilot, they can apply to the town for a pilot. All of those have the ability to provide that. With that, McDonough just granted a pilot for a solar project, it had nothing to do with the IDA. They're simply saying, would this entity be the administrator if this project were to be approved? Would they grant this pilot? That's all we're saying.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you. Motion to move forward with the application process.
Wait, movie.
Need a second?
Second.
Second by Zeno. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Corey, aye.
Zeno, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Hold on.
Burton, aye.
Thank you. Pretty quick and dirty updates on the rest of these. Norbit Solar Farms, our attorneys have contacted their attorneys again about the closing documents and have not gotten a response back. So I don't have an update there, unfortunately. They were tied up again on some of the language that our attorneys have provided, but have not corresponded with a backup plan. So need to sit tight on that one yet again. Payne Solar, I expected a updated application for this meeting. They reached out 2 weeks ago and said they would not have it in time for the August meeting, but hope to have it in time for the September meeting, which seems to be a consistent trend with them.
It moved forward in the planning department, right, Shane? We approved that last,
County Planning Board did approve it.
so I believe it's still chugging.
I know that they are going through their motions and their steps. I mean, they've been working with NICEAG, with the county, so I'm pretty confident in that one. It's just a matter of waiting to have them all their ducks in a row. So hopefully next month we'll have an updated application on that. The last one here, Principal Holdings Group, the hotel here in Norwich. We are waiting to close, got held up a little bit on their attorney, unfortunately. I do anticipate that closing along with the building closing by our next meeting next month. So
I keep saying that too. This is truly just a matter of.
attorney review.
Their attorney can't seem to get this thing finished. Both the pilot application work that needs to be done and the closing on the building. The attorneys from the DCC are waiting for it. Our attorneys with the IDA are waiting for it. And until the O'Reilly's principal design starts to put some pressure on their attorneys, we're kind of at their mercy.
Any questions on any of those?
Okay. New business.
Cottage Bakery Building, I think you guys have seen what's going on there right now. Hopefully, maybe you haven't. The Cottage Bakery has decided to close. Kate has re-entered the workforce. Her mom doesn't want to run it herself. We've been going through the process of trying to figure out, what we want to do with that building. The DCC owns that. We've tried to figure out how can we make that something that would be important to the downtown revitalization initiative. With Kate leaving and with the Deja Brew thing that's happening with their building, we've worked the situation out with Missy Beers where she can do a pop-up over there. So she's going to open up there. Kate's closing next week. Missy will come back the next week. But more importantly, Tyler's preparing an RFP with Rebella to try to sell that building. We're now not being to figure out what we should do with that building. There's been interest in that building. Missy's interested in that building for her business. Their Principal Design has an interest in that building. We're going to conduct an RFP. We're going to potentially look at some grant opportunities that might be attached to that via a small grant fund that's out there to make that building, much more attractive. And so that building right now, we hope to have an RFP out by 1st of September, Tyler.
That is the plan, yes.
Hopefully have those accepted and reviewed by 1st of October. 90 days notice for people that are in there now because it's a confusing situation. But we're going to figure out something to do with that building that will hopefully add to the downtown revitalization initiative. Questions on that one? Okay. Kai, go ahead. Viking Property Micro Enterprise Grant. Where are we with that?
Those are two New York State grant opportunities that we're going to go after. The vacant property is due mid-September, so we're putting together that grant application now. That's a pretty heavy process before and after, but feeling confident that we'll be able to accomplish that. The micro enterprise grant, we did get approval from the county at the last Board of Supervisors meeting to move forward with that. So the DCC will be the applicant, and we'll work with the county to apply and organize that afterwards. So moving forward with both of those here in a timely manner.
Full transparency, we may end up having to use a consultant to help us with some of these things. Jeff, I might need to come to you and Shane and Bill, because again, we haven't utilized any of that money to be set aside for us. And try to administer all these things is a lot for one person. Applying for them, administering, making sure we're still staying on top of the small projects one. It's getting to be a lot for 1.5 people here. So we might need to get some help with some of those things going forward. just so you guys know. He's gonna let me know before, we want to get some help before we try to go, type of thing. We got a lot of stuff going on, which is good news. Harris Beach Winter presented last night to the city council. You guys know that we have them come in, and both of those gentlemen made it here. The one who did the major presentation, Joe, I can't pronounce his last name, for Jay-Z, however you said it.
Yep.
He literally said, hey, came out here pro bono, just wanted to make it was well received by the council, but I don't know that they're going to do anything with it. So there's really no action for the idea. They fully understood the process. We actually had some landlords that were there until the meeting ended. I spoke with one of those landlords that at times is questions the purpose when we try to go out, when we try to make some improvements on blighted buildings, and when we articulated what we were suggesting is possible, which is simply to look at buildings that create the greatest nuisance in each ward and wanted it through some objective criteria, police reports, health reports, code violations, whatever those criteria are. All you're saying is, Brian Burton as the landlord, please make these improvements. If you say no, you simply say, I'm going to do that for you, and then Brian Burton pay me for that. And if Brian says no, then you take the building and say, okay, I'm going to sell the building. That's the process that those guys outlined last night. The city understood it. It's done at the Supreme Court. There's nothing more for us to do. If the city wants to pursue that, we'll wait to hear from them. All right, does that make sense? Well received, not a lot of pushback from any
Yeah, no,
audience or the city
Yep.
council.
I guess what I don't understand is if Brian says no, what gives you the right to sell it?
If Brian says he won't pay for it, Frank, because you're gonna put that as a tax lien to it. Frank, you're gonna say, okay, this building is a nuisance, Frank, I'm the blueprint. It has raw sewage running through the apartments, it has people living in the walls, it has more police complaints than any other property. All the stack of criteria that Jan Papalino, Ruben Roach, and the city council say are nuisance. They have signs hanging out of their building that they shouldn't, windows are open constantly. Okay, Frank, Sal, fix your building. I need you to fix your building just to address these codes issues. I won't do that. I'm gonna do it for you then, and I'm gonna put that on your tax lien. And you say, okay, I'm gonna do that, and then you say, okay, you can pay me now, but if you don't, it becomes a tax situation. Okay. And that's how you address it. Otherwise, and that is truthfully, the guy from our county says he does this for 60 lawyers, he does this for 16 municipalities. Otherwise, there's not a lot of answers. They do it in Binghamton. I use this example all the time. The old EJ building that's across the street from the airport road exit was owned by somebody from out of state, and they went and took, I can't tell you how many properties from it. And they ended up putting that property back on the tax rolls. It's a low, moderate, and high income housing. It was done through some tax credits and a variety of things. They did this very process that I'm talking about right now. Because otherwise, how do you address these blighted properties where people are paying their taxes, but they have no incentive to fix it because the taxes are low and the upkeep will cost them more than simply paying the taxes? What does a municipality do? That's my question. This is one solution. I'm not suggesting that solution, but what I've been told for the last 2.5 years is there's no solution. And that's not true. There are solutions. It's just, what do you want to do? That's all.
Sal, when you use the term nuisance,
Yes.
is that exclusive to just code violations?
No.
Or does it go beyond
Yes,
something documented that's blatant?
yes.
Where you,
Police calls.
police activity,
I call over and
fire
over
department
police
activity.
activity. There's drug activity outside.
well,
Vagrants.
no, but it's still in the legal world,
But
right?
yes, but that's not a code violation.
Okay.
Code
no,
violation is different, right? So it's a health code. It's literally, how many times am I called there for emergency services? Because, okay, all the codes are up to speed, the room looks good, but people are drug overdosing in this building over and over and over again because there's no supervision, there's no literally, that is a cost to a municipality, right? So you say, okay, what do we need to do to address that? Everybody says you can't do anything. That's not true. You can. You create a scoring system to say what makes a building a nuisance. And here's my thing, Mike. Don't even make it. If there's 6 wards in the city, I've said this for 2.5 years. There's 6 wards in the city of Norwich. Just have each ward pick the building they want to start with. Pick the biggest nuisance that your constituents say. This is the one I wish you would address, because they've constantly got a car out in front of it and they're fixing it. It's got a red X on it, it's unsafe, whatever those things might be. But you as an alderman come and say, hey, city, this is what happens in Binghamton. There's a codes enforcement attorney. When the codes enforcement department says, I got a pile of these red tickets that we hand out, they're done. The attorney then says, we'll help you get those fixed. The majority of the time it's, hey, Sal, cut your grass. And Sal cuts his grass. But if Sal doesn't cut his grass and it grows there to be like it is quite literally on Westcott Street, growing through a house, growing through the house right now, there's bushes in it. So what do you do with that? How do you pay his taxes? But literally every house in that neighborhood is devalued because there are trees growing through the front porch. What do we do about that? Right now, they say nothing. But I'm telling you, you can force them to by saying, this is a public nuisance. It's devaluing our community. It's unsafe for our mailmen that have to deliver mail here, so on and so forth. We should, I'm not saying that's even the biggest nuisance. I'm simply saying we've got to figure out a way to do something, or this will continue to progress, in my opinion.
So there has to be, kind of, at your point, when do you realize there's a third party effect? In other words, somebody else is being affected
That's right.
by this, and that's where it falls into that
That's
category.
exactly. It's a public nuisance.
It's an action.
And we can go through and find precedent at the Supreme Court level, the state Supreme Court, there's precedent where this is done all the time. You establish the criteria for a nuisance. The community establishes it based upon their code, based upon whatever set of criteria that is very much objectionable. It's not subjective. This is a very objective process to say, okay, fix this. Because your building is going to fall down in the street like it did over on State Street. It has paying its taxes, the building's gonna fall in. What do you do? What do you do? Well, the city fixes it before it falls in and goes to the street. And they say, I'll pay it, I won't pay it. Okay, well, I'm gonna take the building from you now, and I'm gonna sell it to Brian, who's a good landlord, and he'll take it now because it's all fixed up. And that's the way the process works. In some municipalities, they pre-qualify the landlords who will take them once they've got them in there, right? So it works. I'm just saying, we're just showing them how to do it.
So does codes have nothing to do with it now? I mean,
Code says everything.
but why can't codes do that instead of hiring somebody to do it all? What's codes for then?
Well, but codes aren't attorneys. They
No,
would go to the Supreme
we have a
Court.
city attorney, we have a county attorney, we have attorneys, but I don't know
Well,
why.
here's why, Stan, because you really think our city attorney is capable of, the city of Norwich's attorney, Stan is a general practice attorney who handles a lot of different, most small municipalities hire their attorneys out as needed, because you don't need that. You don't have to have somebody with this type of expertise on board full time. If you're doing it enough, you don't want to need them.
So if you have a code violation,
Yeah.
you can't shut them down.
If you have a codes violation, you can.
Okay, so why is that happening?
The current process, Stan, is, so, for example, the buildings we're talking about, they go and they go to city court currently, and it gets pushed off if this person doesn't show up, or city court is
Well, then that's,
only meets once a month. The process is somewhat broken how we're doing it right now, which is why the suggestion from these folks is bypass city court and just go to Supreme Court, because there will actually be action taken.
And that's
I'll
what the
guarantee
attorneys-
you, Stan, in every town in this community, there are properties, there's a codes violation right now.
And that's what the attorneys talked about last time.
Right.
The key is bypassing
Yes,
the local
yes,
judicial system
yes.
and going to the
The
Supreme
state.
Court with it. But I think we've done our job at
I
this
agree.
point, which is the handshake.
I agree.
Everybody that's saying there's no resolution at the city level, we've offered up a city, we've offered the city a solution. You went out and found these guys and did the legwork. They've now presented to the city. It's up to the city to take the reins and run with it if they so choose. So at this point, I think our part's done.
Completely, we said we would run that as a test, and we run this too, but there's nothing for us to do right now. I just want to close the loop on that.
Good. Thank you. Good conversation. Full business.
East Main Street building, Tyler, we're moving forward, we're still waiting right now for some work from the engineers. We're meeting today, Sharon Vesely and I, with the leaders of UHS, who are responsible for the daycare program down there with Bright Horizon. We're trying to contemplate how we might enter into a relationship with the place? What's our role as the landlords here, and how do we continue to move forward with that at the same time as how are we moving forward with the grant? And we're getting closer with that grant right now. We're simply waiting for some work. Everything for it is on time.
Yeah, we've received the contract from Principal Engineering on the actual build and design itself. OCFS, the agency at New York State level that handles child care services, has approved the floor plan. So we're all set at that point. So the O'Reillys are currently building the final build, which we will then take back to New York State. And then we'll issue a bid for a general contractor, hopefully mid-September. Should be the plan. So.
And we're hoping to really truly engage John Axel in this work, because there are some administrative fees associated with this that we will be able to recoup as part of the process. So more to follow on that, but things are moving along well. Tyler's doing a really nice job keeping that moving forward. In other words, Water District.
Can I just back up just for a second? Sorry, just as we're getting closer and closer, and we continue to move forward with the project downstairs, start thinking about, from an IDA standpoint, us as a landlord and things we might like to see in a lease to them, as far as maintenance, upkeep, what our responsibilities are versus their responsibilities, utilities, things of that nature. So just kind of start thinking about that. Right now, the anticipated rent by them will be $1 at this point. But, you know, if a door breaks, is it our responsibility? Is it going to be their responsibility? Do we want to be hiring a maintenance man to change light bulbs? Probably not, right? So start thinking about some of those things from a landlord's perspective, okay?
And I'll try to get some contract information from people like UHS, Bright Horizons, Colgate, people like that.
And then think of mechanisms too. So if we say, hey, they need to pay for their own water, they need to pay for their own electric, they need to pay for their own heat. We
How
have
we do
a
it.
common heating system. You have common electric. How are you breaking out meters? How would that be done with all the, you know, there might be some infrastructure work that has to get done as part of the upgrade to make that possible to capture that.
100%.
Yeah, other than a percentage basis or some other kind of simplistic methodology. So,
That's 50%, this is 50%.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
yeah, just so you guys know.
So we're talking about money. I have a question on one of the bills and invoices.
Yep.
So C&D landscaping, I see it's $1,150. But $810, it says billed to the railroad. Have they already paid, or are
No.
we still waiting? Cause
We build that in August, so it won't
Okay.
show up in these financials
until next month.
until next month.
Okay.
And then,
But they have agreed in writing to pay.
yes, they've agreed and ready to
Okay.
pay it. We sent the bill. We haven't seen the check yet, but
Yeah, what we've done, they've approved that process anyway, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it in the receivables, but it's good. It'll be
yes,
next
that's because
month.
of timing.
Okay.
Because these receivables are by the end of the July.
Sure.
This listing of checks and things is up to yesterday.
Okay.
So you kind of, this checklist crosses 2 months. That ends at the end of July. So
Okay.
you'll see that occasionally. It's a good question. though.
Thanks for explaining that.
Any more on this building or the daycare center before we move into the water district? Water district update. Tyler, last I knew, you were waiting for Eric to reach out to move that thing forward, and I'm not sure.
Yes, we, Delaware Engineering submitted a grant through the CFA by July 31st on behalf of the IDA to do a study of what we want the water district to be and what it would look like, what the economic impact would be. We won't find out about that probably till fall. And then because Delaware Engineering did the grant, obviously they're looking to do the study as well. But that process probably wouldn't start obviously until next year at this point. But that's the path forward there. Everyone agreed. We got the group together to discuss the water district, that really just having a study and an idea of where the best, places to put the pipe or where to take it would make the most sense first. So we're crossing that bridge first.
First feasibility study.
Yep.
And then we need to move forward and say, okay, how would we pay for it? What would we do next, right?
Exactly.
Grants, where's the money?
Yep.
Okay, and then hybrid wind, John has some concerns here, and I want to make sure everybody's fully transparent. So the way it works now with general accounting practices, you have to acknowledge the entire payment from the pilot associated with hybrid wind in the year that you sign the agreement. and then you amortize those each year. So if we were a publicly traded company, we would be very concerned about the fact that now we have to comp $900,000 in income, and every year we're going to see a $90,000 decrement against that. It's an accounting issue. It's simply a matter of bookkeeping. I want to make sure you guys are all aware of that and see it as it's going to happen every month as we go through.
Because they went on vacation the last week and a half, so I was able to get it, but the same concerns with Puckett Solar. When you look at our receivables, you have these huge receivables. That's because we recognize all the revenue once, put it all in the books as once. But with Highbridge, we had to do like a back out entry. I'm thinking we may have to do that with Puckett. As soon as I get a hold of them, I'll talk to them, and that may be the same, that every year those checks will come in, but they won't come in and be placed as income. They're gonna go directly against the accounts receivable because we've already recognized
We've already
it.
recognized
So
it.
you'll never see that money coming in as income. It's already been recognized years past. That's just the accounting.
General accounting practice, it says,
Yeah.
if you have a reasonable expectation to expect the income, you have to claim it and you got it, right? So that's what they're saying. So we know
They made that switch like 2 years ago now.
a few years ago.
Yeah.
We had to do that in my career at ACO as well. So if you sold something on consignment, but you were guaranteed a certain level of sales, then you were allowed to take that full level of guaranteed income in the year.
So if that is true, when we create our budget, you could end up with budgets that are negative. And people say, why? And it's because of, we'll have plenty of money in the bank to pay the bills. It's just.
Year-over-year performance will be
Recognition.
negative.
Recognized future.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
We are waiting to, just real quick on them, I mean, we obviously voted to amend the pilot. There is paperwork that we need to obviously vote on and file to do that. Our attorneys are awaiting their attorneys to get that paperwork back. So I would imagine in the next couple of months, we'll have those to take care of as well.
Thank you, Tim. Term limits, I want to talk to you guys about terms and limits, but I've gone back to I first went back to Jeff, and then I went back to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, because in order for us to establish terms, so that each of you would serve a certain number of years, and then your term would end, and then you could serve it again. I wasn't suggesting you couldn't serve an unlimited number of terms. We simply wanted to have a process so that we said the term is up, let's review it. To do that would require us, like all of our other boards, like some IDAs, would require us to go through a process of putting in New York State resolution sponsored by the Senate and the Assembly, and it would take us, a time, effort, money with our attorneys. And I, as I thought about it more and more, I didn't understand why we would want to do that. Because ultimately, we have a process where we can review the IDA board every year. Jeff and the board appoint people every year at different times, to the planning board at different boards. So what I suggest we should do is just establish a policy that says the chairman of the board, R.C. Woodford, I've spoken to him, the chairman of the board of supervisors, Jeff, and the executive director will get together and review all of the boards, attendance, participation, the need of the community versus when we form the board, time on the board, whether or not whether we're representing the community that we intend. Jeff has the authority to be able to do that. The three of us ought to be able to review 7 people annually and say, do we think we need to make any changes to the board? And if so, are we comfortable saying why? Because I would be the one to have to say that. Why would we have to spend thousands of dollars to create a new process when I can do that every year, when the executive director can do that every year? So I don't suggest we pursue these term limits anymore unless the board thinks it makes sense.
Do we know what other IDAs do?
It's mixed. It's mixed. Some have term limits, some don't. There's questions around whether or not term limits should exist, but some of them, boards every year, like I think on the planning board, I'm appointed every year, right, Jeff? So we could just say everybody's appointed every year, and Jeff literally does 2 resolutions. Every year he does an appointment, says, these 7 people's terms have ended, and their terms are starting on April 1st of 2026, and the resolution states that you're all appointed again, and it serves until April or March 31st of 2027. You'd have to do that every year again, right? And that's a process. And if he doesn't do that, and we say, hey, you know what? Sal shouldn't be on the board anymore, Jeff, because he just doesn't show up. Plus, he sounds like a senile old man. Then instead of saying, hey, all 7 of these people are being re-upped again, we're going to simply say these 6 plus Sean McGrath. That's the 7 people on the board, right? That's a process we could do every single year. And Jeff has that authority. We did it this year with the two people that came off. We simply passed a resolution and said, these two people are off. And then he said, okay, these two people are on. I mean, everybody voted on. I had to go to PED about it. And there'd be a process there. And I just say, Jeff doesn't sit there like a kingmaker and point out. But I'm suggesting we do that now. So why change that? Why not just make it a more specific process that's handled annually instead of an ad hoc? Hey, I'd like to add RC Woodford because Randy Gibbon wants to come off the board. It should be more like, hey, let's review the board and say, we do that with the others because of term limits. I suggest here we don't have to.
Jeff, you good with that? You got any comments?
It's not just, it would be whoever was in my seat.
Well, I say, well, you're there now, but I mean,
Yeah.
you got any comments to share with that? I mean,
It would certainly be driven by what the board, the executive director here and the chairman of the board would want of the IDA, that would be driving it mostly, so don't have any big questions on it.
No sense of spending money if we don't.
If I spend money, if I can do it anyway, right? So I gotta go to the PED to have these things vetted first. First, I gotta go to the job, say, I'm gonna put this in front of the PED. Does this make any sense to you in RC? Yes, it does. Then you go to planning. Now, they say, why? Well, because it makes sense for these reasons, and then it goes to the full board, and they say, okay, here's the resolution. So I'm just suggesting we should do that for the whole board, except instead of for the exceptions. That's all. No action. Just I'm not going to push that because I don't want to spend their money. Okay, that's really it. I have the upcoming events that you wanted to see. I want to make sure I tell you guys. We've got a few of them coming up down the pike. Young professional mixer this week on Thursday. A couple of you qualify. And Frank, if you got people you want to attend, Frank, bring them down. I'd love to see you guys there. Then we've got breakfast with the banker next week on a Wednesday. We're playing golf. What we're going to try to do is get more consistent on when our dates are and try to make sure that, we for instance, we've only got 15 teams for golf this year. Normally we get many more when we're in Norwich. Lots of different circumstances. Could be time, just because of where we are in the year. Last year in September, we had more players in Afton, which is a rarity. So I think getting this calendar, while it may not seem important, it is, because consistency within the community is something that we need to be better at so that all of you have a better opportunity to attend our events. I think that's it. I don't have anything to go into executive session for, Brian. I think we're good.
I just have one thing I want to bring up. It's been a while since our last comptroller audit.
Okay.
At the next meeting, I'd like to review that audit and where we are on corrective action items, just to make sure we're moving forward with those before they call us next year and say we want to do this again.
I can tell you that every pilot has been visited and documented in picture. I can tell you you'll be pleased with the progress on that
Yeah,
audit.
if we could just kind of go through that,
Yeah.
make sure we're.
Yeah, and again, it helps to have John here and being focused on these steps. So.
Does anybody have a reason to go into executive session? Okay, motion for adjournment?
we'll move.
Second. We'll vote.
Corey, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Well done.
Bert, aye. Lou, thanks for joining us online, appreciate it.
All right, Louis, thank you.
Thank you, have a good day.
You bet, you too.
Who seconded?